Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and today we are doing an introduction to Power Virtual Agents. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and kind of walk you through what PVA or Power Virtual Agents is, and then we'll end with a little bit of a nice demo as well. So I know that most of you people are also aware of Power Virtual Agents, the whole concept of Power Virtual Agents, which is, it is something to empower your people to drive more business value using AI. But I know there's also some of you who might ask the question is that, why are you, Daniel, why are you interested in Power Virtual Agents? And for that answer, I want to go back almost 2.5 years ago. If you remember in my videos, and I'll put the link of that in my blog, and when we switch over, I might even show that to you. I had done a deep dive video on Q&A Maker and its integration with Power Apps. And as you remember about that video, there was a bit of a process to go through, right? Besides the fact that I had to give it a whole bunch of questions and I had to give it a whole bunch of answers and do some training, it was a little clunky, all right? And there was a lot of work involved. So keeping that history in mind, plus I went ahead and tested Lewis as well. Now, Lewis was definitely a step up, great tool over there, but again, it required a lot of work, it required a little bit of training, and again, a little clunky. So after having all that experience, now that I've been testing Power Virtual Agents or PVA for about over 2 months, this is definitely a breath of fresh air because it is so easy to use, and it was so easy to adopt too, because literally a power user who doesn't need any coding whatsoever can literally just jump in and start playing with it. And if that user is even familiar with Power Automation or Flow, just the whole concept of actions and conditions and everything, even if you're slightly familiar with that, you're going to be able to adopt this so much more faster. So having said all of that, let's actually kind of walk through a little bit. If any of you are seeing about or hearing about Power Virtual Agents for the first time, this will be kind of a good introduction. So let me just spend a few minutes talking about that. So one of the things about PVA is that it is literally a chatbot to help. And as we know that chatbots sometimes they can be difficult to create. Already told you about Q&A Maker and Lewis. They can also be difficult to make. You need really good SMEs or subject matter experts to build it. And even after you build it, they might be difficult to use or hard to adopt. And if it is hard to adopt, you got to go back again, talk to the IT people or whoever is the developer to make all these things. So that's where adoption sometimes with chatbots can be difficult, but won't be the case when we talk about in PVA over here. The other thing about chatbots is, like I said, it will be easier to adopt. But the beauty about Power Virtual Agents over here, that it literally is for everyone. Like I just said, no longer do you have to depend on somebody else to build it. You yourself can build it, and the building can be done for everyone's experience. It can be done for the customer's experience, the SMEs, the subject matter experts, and the IT admins and developers. So now that you understand the whole reasoning as to why PVA or Power Virtual Agents came into existence, let's actually focus a little bit more attention on that. So as you may have already seen in the Ignite videos, Power Virtual Agents or PVA is part of the whole Power Platform family, and it is literally in that whole category of a low code, no code space. And we all know that the Power Platform family fell under Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Automate. These were the original 3 family members. But back in Ignite of 2019, which was just November, it wasn't too far away. Back in Ignite of 2019, that's when they introduced the 4th family member, which is PVA or Power Virtual Agents. So in a nutshell, this is basically it, that Power Virtual Agents was introduced in Ignite of 2019, and it is part of the Power Platform over there. But Power Virtual Agents is, even though I say that, hey, it is a very low code and is a user friendly, don't even for a minute misunderstand that, hey, it's just too simple and I might not have enough use for it. Trust me, under the hood, this thing is a really powerful bot. I mean, look at the bot framework over here. And like I said, under the hood, it has access to pretty much everything you can think of, because it does work with the integration of speech, Q&A, language understanding, or Lewis over there, vision. It integrates all of this over there. So it's not a completely new thing altogether, which is just built from scratch. And it's like, I'm not too sure about that. Trust me, under the hood, it is still the same powerful platform of all the entire cognitive services. But what it does is it goes ahead and leverages and makes it all easier over there. And just from the cognitive services over there, look at the expansion of how much you can do. I mean, there's just a whole big category of APIs that PVA is calling over there. And just, I'm just calling out a few things over there. You can do the the vision integration over there. You can do the Bing search, and this is just, I'm just barely scratching the surface of the capabilities of Power Virtual Agent over there. So let's continue and looking at, the concept of how Power Virtual Agents is. I showed you those 2 slides over there. So basically, if you looked at a kind of a pyramid structure of what is the fundamentals of PVA and on what it builds on, this is actually a great example. So the initial fundamentals of PVA, or Power Virtual Agents, is it all banks on Azure Cognitive Services. And I showed you that slide before, is that Azure Cognitive Services is calling all those APIs over there. But then the next thing that comes in mind is the Azure Bot Services. And the Azure Bot Services are the 2 examples that I showed, Q&A Maker and Lewis. Again, that's like the second level over there, the next level. It also falls into the entire category of the Power Platform, which is in the same family over there. And as we all know, the Power Platform has this huge, big stack of connectors that it's got access to. So now that Lewis is part of the family, Lewis can do the same thing as well. And not Lewis, PVA, or Power Virtual Agents. And so that's why it's best to kind of see it this way, that Power Virtual Agents is actually at the top of the pyramid. Although it might just be the tip of the iceberg, but there's a big section underneath it which supports the functionality of Power Virtual Agents over there. So I personally am really excited about testing and playing with Power Virtual Agents because it's not completely new altogether. Underneath it is all of these really strong platforms that have been fully functional. It's been there for a while, and PVA, or Power Virtual Agents, just helps you in automating that process over there. So it's really a great process, and it's really almost like a tried and tested way. It just makes things all come together and work really well. But don't let that not get you excited, because I'm going to show you some nice demos on that. So in a nutshell, that was about PVA, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually build our very first PVA together. What I'm going to do is actually break this down into 2 different sections. This one over here, I'm focusing only on the whole concept of asking questions and based on conditions, giving messages or answers. That's the focus of this video over here. I'm also going to build a second video, and in that second video, I'm going to take it to the next level. What I'll do is I'll actually save all our questions and answers data in CDS entity, and then using Power Automate, based on whatever was the questions that was asked by the end user, Flow or Power Automate is going to help us to go and grab that data and then get it back over there. In addition, I'm also going to show you how you can do some integration. And one of the great integration is, now that you've built a chatbot using Power Virtual Agents, we're going to go ahead and take that and put it into Teams. But I'm going to save all of that for the next video. So in this video now, here's what I'm focusing on. But in the whole concept, like I said, it's going to be about asking questions and conditions over there. But I thought I'd take a really good example, a real world example. And the people that came to my mind immediately were my friends at Power Apps 911. Now, as you all know, Power Apps 911 is a great company, a consulting company for pretty much everything to do with the Power Platform. The 3 people that we talked about, the original 3 members. And one of the things that Power Apps 911 does is they have this type of support model, right? They go ahead and help with all of these things. But man, they get a ton of emails day after day, week after week, asking all these same questions. Is that, hey, Power Apps 911, what are the services that you offer? Because we love Power Apps 911. Shane does a fantastic job, building all these great videos over there, and we really need your support. What are the services you offer? And every single time that email comes through, they pretty much have to respond back to these things. Even though they have it on their website, these questions come in again and again. So I thought this is a great idea, is to use a company like that and actually build a chatbot for them. A chatbot which basically goes ahead and takes, works with the end user or whoever is the customer or potential customers. They come ahead and ask the chatbot a little bit of simple questions. And then anytime any of these type of questions come up, the chatbot immediately responds back to that. So that is going to be an example. It's a great example because it might be similar to what you are doing, maybe a first level customer support for something similar, or maybe a first level IT or first level HR. Simple type of questions which are so mundane and repetitive, the chatbot can handle that. All right. So now that you understand a little bit of PVA, and I also kind of gave you a little bit of a scenario what this example is, let's now stop with the slides and let's jump in and take a look at the closer look at the details of this. So let me now switch over. Let me get off from the slides. Let me switch over to some of the examples. Like I said before I jump in, this was the actual video I talked about, back on July 14th of 2017. that's 2.5 years ago. I had actually focused on Q&A Maker, and so that's when the Power Virtual Agents came out. That was a big deal for me. All right. So anyway, I apologize. I digressed a little bit. So now let's jump into Power Virtual Agents. And I'm going to walk you through at the first attempt of how I was able to at least get the PVA started. Right now you can go ahead and do a whole free setup and do some testing, and that's what I'm going to walk you through, is as if I'm a first-time user, similar to some of you watching these videos, and then maybe you can just kind of use this video on the side and kind of walk through with me how I went ahead and set this up, right? And for some reason, if it doesn't work, I already have a fully functioning bot we can use. So what I'm going to do is I have a test tenant, and we're going to log in, use the authentication of the test tenant. What I mean by that is I already have a fully functional Office 365 and Power Platform, and I have it on an account. All right, that's my tenant. Now I'm using that tenant to go ahead and set up a test one for Power Virtual Agents as well. I didn't have to create a new account, a new tenant altogether. This is an existing one that I have, but now I'm leveraging the Power Virtual Agents as well. So for the Power Virtual Agents on the URL, if you just start typing in Power Virtual Agents, this is what you're going to get, and that's the URL, powervirtualagents.microsoft.com. You can also get this powerva.microsoft.com. Both of them work, right? So I'm going to click on that. And then here it says, hey, I'm going to get you started with your existing email address. You could actually type in your business email address. Don't use anything such as Gmail or Hotmail. Use a business one over there. All right, so I'm going to say, yep, that's good. I'll go to get sign up. So it's going to get me sign up. Says you have an account with us. That's great. And I'm going to go ahead and start using the Power Virtual Agents with that existing password. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to now put it in my password. And in we go. Yep, that's good. So far so good. Everything's working. So I'm almost there. So let's just look at that for a minute. For now, this is my test account, so I'm willing to share. So I'm going to say, yep, I'm going to go ahead and share my information. You don't have to do that. It's completely up to you. But just as a quick lead, to say Microsoft will send you promotions and offers and blah, 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 blah. So I'll say, yep, that's good. I'll go ahead and create that. Again, this is something I'm doing. If you don't want to do it, it's completely fine. So we're going ahead and getting everything done. And it says, one last thing, please wait. It's kind of getting you logged in and does all its fancy things behind the scenes. And it gets me straight over here. One more time, I got to go and sign in. And then maybe it may ask you for a authentication. It may not ask you for authentication. In this case, it's asking me that one more time, which is fine. Okay. So you already have a license for it. Good. So basically, it didn't go through a refresh something. It just did a quick license check, which in this case is just a trial. So you don't have to have a license. All right. Okay. Got it. And it's letting me in. And it looks like I'm already here. Now, this is a very important piece over here, so you need to focus on that. There's two things we are doing. Not only are we creating a bot, because that itself is huge. You get to play with your own Power Virtual Agents. Woohoo! That's great. But I want you to kind of pay a little bit attention on this more options over here. More options actually tells you which environment you want your bot to be created. I have wished that this was kind of more obvious, that you didn't have to go select in more options. But you know what? If somebody else in the product team is watching this video, they would know that, hey, this is a good feedback. And maybe they might make that as a mandatory thing, something which is more visible. But if not, you are all smart people who are there. Okay, understand that, hey, just in case, for whatever reason, I need to just go take a look at this more options. There might be something I need to take a look at. So I know there's a whole bunch of you who are smart people, and you wouldn't just want to look at the name and go away. You will go ahead and click on more options. So I have faith in you. Okay, so in my tenant over here, I have two. I've got the default one, and I've also got another one. This is another environment over there. For the sake of this example, I'm just going to go ahead and default. But for you all, I want to point this out, that you need to be very cautious of which environment you're putting this in. Because remember, this is all part of the Power Platform. And in the Power Platform, all of you have been using it. Environments is a big thing, right? It helps to break it down into different sections, permissions, apps, and all of those things over there. And the same process works on PVA, Power Virtual Agents, as well, because it's part of the same family. So huge first step to take over there. So I am going to call this bot as Chewy. Chewy is like the big mascot for Power Apps 911. I'm a big fan of Chewy. In fact, I even have a picture of Chewy. I mean, a little mascot of Chewy over here. So here is Chewy, and therefore I'm going to go ahead and put in my bot name as Chewy. So everything's good. Like I said, created in the default. You guys go ahead and stick it to whatever you want. And I'm going to go ahead and create the bot. Now, in this bot section over here, it can take a while. It can take anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. Again, really depends on what it is. This is all, still in the testing mode. So if it takes a little bit longer, don't don't freak out yet. It's just going on. It's actually going and building the bot, and it takes some while. So just let it do what it has to do, and it'll come back. In fact, here's the message which says that we are still building a bot, and it could take up to 15 minutes. So while we are still doing that, feel free to chat with the test bot, test your conversations, and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let it do over here. And it says over here on the top, it says creating a bot, step 1, it went and finishing it. Step 2 there's a 4-step process, so it's on step 2, assembling the necessary files. And then it will go ahead and come to step 3 and step 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of speed up a little bit in this video. I'm going to let this thing finish what it is doing, and then I'll come back to it. Nice. As you can see, the bot has been fully created. If you also notice, if you're watching it closely, step number 1 goes through really fast, and it's step number 2. Then it stays at step number 2 for a while. It can actually stay there for a solid 15 minutes. And then 3 and 4 goes by really fast too. Now that's what happened in my tenant. It could be different in yours. All around, it can take up to 15 minutes, and that's normal. That's just not for you. So don't kind of get agitated or freak out. This is just the way it is. But now that if you go in over here, you see that the bot has been created, and you can now use Power Virtual Agents with full functionality. Also, you notice that this button was grayed out, but now it's fully available. Okay, so one of the good things I like is that make the bot, this pop-up message that comes up over here. It says that make the bot you own, click topics, and when you get started and everything. So we'll kind of go through at least all of this right now. Okay, so I'm just going to go in. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And let's spend a few minutes just looking at what you have set up over here. So first things first is, over here is always your test bot section. So anytime you build something, this is where you go ahead and test it. All right, it's all there. The testing is there. You don't have to go somewhere else. It's all built into the PVA section away in this kind of environment to test it, which is great. But the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to go to topics. So over here in the topics, or you can go it through here, go topics or topics, either way you want to do it. It takes you to something which is very important. It takes you to a place where it's already been created. These topics have already been created. So let's kind of focus on these two things. We won't deep dive too much into it, but I want you to kind of just narrow it down into these two things. There's the user topics, and then there is the system topics. So the system topics are those really key important things, which is the initial greeting, and then the end, or in the middle if you want to go ahead and escalate. Those key things which kind of the system handles. That's what it's doing over here. And it's great that this is already built out of the box, so you don't have to spend too much time doing on that. And then the next one is the user topics. Now user topics is where we'll be spending most of our time on, and that's the time that you'll be spending as well, because a lot of it is already done and built. There is where you'll go ahead and actually start building your own. So in this example, we'll actually do a topic called a service center or service request, something like that. Because a service request is coming in, for that Power Apps 911, and that's where we'll create load over here. That's one thing. The second thing I want you to focus on, and that should have been the first one actually, is on the top right over here is the bot panel. It's called the bots panel. This is what shows you two key things: which environment you are on and the bot that you're working on. Because this might be the first time and you only see one bot over here, but as you get comfortable with this, you're going to have a lot more environments, and you're going to have a lot more bots. And it's very key that when you're working on something, you start adding, editing, deleting topics and whatnot, you need to know right up front which one you're working on. So kind of keep an eye on that. On the top right over here, it's almost like a mini bot icon. You go ahead and click on that bot. It's the bots panel. And then you make sure that you're selecting the correct one. In which our case, it's correct. It's Chewy, so that's the one we're selecting over here. Okay, so entities is another one. Don't kind of mistake this too much with the entities which you would see on your CDS entities, although the overall concept is the exact same thing. But these are, again, the out-of-the-box pre-built methods that are already available over here. There's the age, the Boolean, cities, colors. So for an example, the one that I will be talking a little bit more on is called as the event. So when I go on the event, a great example over here is these are the pre-built entities that are already there. So if a user's input, which is last year's World Cup series, then that is already in the World Cup entity and it's in the saved value over there. So if for something like that in the event, I want to go ahead and actually make some changes, this is where you can do. You can do a little bit more training. So kind of keep that in mind, and I can go ahead and add a little bit more entities, but we'll save all that for another day. All right. At the end, when you're done finishing a bot, building a bot, always remember to go ahead and hit publish, because publish is basically what's saving the bot over there. Very similar to the Power Apps canvas over there. You do the save, and in this case the savings are all happening over there, but you also want to do the publish. So in this case, it'll actually be more helpful in the second video, especially when we start making connectors to other environments, which in our case will be Teams. You have to do the publish at least once. All right. So this is just overall, kind of key things that you need to know. But now let's go ahead and build a topic. So in the topic area over here, I'm going to go ahead on my topic side is click on the topics. I'm going to create a new topic. And I'm going to call this topic as services. So I'm going to call it over here, services. And in the services, I'm going to say, common service related questions. And watch over here. It says that how might your customers ask about this topic? Try to start with at least 5 or 10 diverse phrases over there. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, is that when services type of questions come up, what are the type of phrases that are used over there? So I'm going to start putting them in, and some of them are not even full phrases. They could just be one letters over there. So what I'm going to say is mentoring is a common one that's asked. So I'm going to put that in. There is also things such as training. You can do that. Service. It's another one. And you can, instead of hitting the add over there, you can just hit enter on your keyboard. That also helps. Help. Then next I'm going to start adding some sentences over there, right? The actual phrases. I'm going to say services you offer. And if you notice, I didn't put the uppercase S because it's smart enough to figure that out. Support you offer. Then I also say sometimes people come and says, hey, I got a question regarding your support. I'll also put in support. Then you can go ahead and put in other things such as consulting, projects, prepaid, just anything I can think of right now. That's all I'm putting it over there. Support with training, we offer, services we offer. I think I already put in those a little bit too much. Let me double check. I can also put in what we offer. And if you notice, it is actually going ahead and keeping me track of the total number of count. So I've already gone over the 10 on the max side of requirements. I'm going to stop over here because this is pretty good. Next thing is I'm going to go ahead and click on save topic, because you're going to do that. You want to save your topic so you don't lose any of your work. Topic successfully saved. Good. Let it do its thing over here. And now I'm going to go to the authoring canvas. All right. It's also giving me an error. Let's see what this error is. Maybe it is. Okay, so in the error is actually it already went ahead and put in the first section of the bot. So we'll just come back to that in a minute. But I want to kind of at least walk you through the same process. Okay, so we were here, we were in the services. Now when we finished up adding all the services, I'm going to go to authoring canvas. I'm going to click on that. Now in the authoring canvas, this is what it is. And by default, the first section is already added over here. And I'll unclick that. What it is called is a node. That's the key term, a node. A node, which in this case is the message, that first node is by default out of the box already added. I didn't add this because you just saw me do it on the fly. So this node's already added over here, which means that if you saw the error before, it's really nothing that you did. On the trigger side, this is just something that happened over there. So again, that's pretty fine. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of build it very simple. I'm not going to call any data sources or anything. It's just in this case we're going to build our own thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is, besides all the triggers, I mean the trigger phrases over there, I'm going to start with saying hi there. Okay, and that's good. The next one I'm going to do is I'm going to again click over there and I'm going to ask a question. In the question I'm going to say, here are the top services we offer. Does any one of these capture your interest? I put a question mark. Now let's take a look at the identify. You've got a few options over here. You can identify with multiple choices, users response, boolean, city, color, a whole bunch of them, all right? And in the next set of videos and everything, we'll kind of deep dive into a little bit more. But since this is an intro / beginner level one, just getting you familiar with it, we're going to stick with the simple one, which is the multiple choices. You can also use the user's entire response, and we'll actually use that for the next video. So hold on to that thought. But let's start with the very simple one, which is multiple choices. Now, in the multiple choices section over here, I am going to add a few multiple choices, and these are the multiple choices, which are the services, basically the services that Power Apps 911 has to offer. Now, if you remember in the slide, I kind of showed you those 4 services. That's the exact one that I'm going to pick over here. And the services were basically in this format. They were the ad hoc support, and I'm going to click on new action and see it automatically does that. This is beautiful. It's just like a nice painting which is drawn over here because it automatically does that, and it's so pleasing even to the eye, because when somebody is building it, you can't even see what's going on, right? And you see that, hey, I added ad hoc, which means not only is the system smart enough to put in a condition for ad hoc, it knows that, hey, there's a second one coming over there, so we went ahead and added that as well. Really smart system over here. I love it. So next one I'm going to do is prepaid consulting. I've got 2 eyes over there. Consulting. Next, I'm going to do projects. And then finally, training. All right. And okay, this looks good. So now you notice what happened over here is went ahead and added this little node section over here. What happened is, since it was a question, the PVA is smart enough to go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to take that question and I'm going to save it to this variable, and then I'm going to assign that variable all over here to each of them. Really, really smart way of doing that. What I want to do is I want to take this one step further, because I'm taking all my Power Automate and Flow experiences and I'm going to apply them over here as well. One of the things we know when we applied it in the variables in Power Automate is over here I actually gave that variable a name. So I'm going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to click on that. This variable, I'll just rename that to service options, and I'll leave the variable. Now watch this. When I click on done, all 4 of these automatically update. I mean, it is so simple. They've really done a great job making our options as end users, non-developers, use this, because we don't have to go ahead and find where everything's connected. It automatically takes care of that for you. Really great job. Okay, so now I'm going to do a lot of copying and pasting, because in the way the company, in this case Power Apps 911, this is the service they support. So for ad hoc support, they actually have a service plan. So now here is all I'm going to show is I'm going to show a message. Yep, all right, here we go. So for the first one, for services option, the services, and that is the ad hoc support, it's right here. Ad hoc support, I'm doing a little copy and pasting. In fact, let me just do that. Ad hoc support. The ad hoc support is bold, nice. Next one over here, prepaid consulting. For the prepaid consulting, I do that with prepaid consulting. And I'm just doing a lot of copying and pasting, and even that works really well. So prepaid consulting. And I'm actually glad I did it this way, because now you can even see how I'm using that. That's great. Let's go to projects. In the projects, I'm just going to show a message. Let's do projects, bold. This is what they have for projects. Delete that. And the final one for training. And in the training, I got, again, show a message, training, bold, And over here, I'm even intentionally putting in a URL, and even the URL goes through really well. So I'm glad actually I did this, because the copying and pasting was one thing, but I'm showing you how this all works. So now I'm going to go ahead and do one, save. All right, worked really well. So in this case, I want to kind of spend a little bit more time on this nice toolbar you see over here, and this test your bot. So when the time comes to test it, you actually click on this, and we'll do that in a minute. But there's some neat things over here. This gives you the option to now zoom in, gives you the option to zoom out, gives you the option to recenter the whole thing again. So if I have moved around and I've done zooming in and whatnot, it gives me the option to recenter it all back again. And then there's these other things over here, which is it kind of shows you a mini map that right now I'm on this zone over here, which is it kind of shows me that I can take it, drag it around. Really neat way. Because remember, this is just the beginner level type of things. When you get comfortable with it, you start adding more of your flow. I mean, your the workflow process, and it grows. This is going to really help for you to scan things up and down. Really, is going to be useful. And then over here, it just tells you I want to watch the variables. And right now we only have one variable, which is the service option. So that's all it helps over here. All right. So now I'm going to show you this one little tricky part, man. There's really not much documentation, or even I haven't seen any other videos show this. But what's happening is that now you see this section over there, it is giving me the functionality to connect to other places. I really wish that section was available over here, because watch what I'm going to do is I'd like to now put in that once all of this is done, I just want a message show up is that if everything is done, I'm going to actually start and say, you know what, that was a great question. But here's what's happening. I would just love to see this icon be available over here and just do a drag and drop. Just not drag and drop, but just click on it and stretch it and just connect it straight to that. That functionality is not available right now, but there's a workaround for that. Okay, all is not lost. So what I do is I actually go ahead and just create another message, and then create another message. And I would not be surprised if there is an easier way to do this. I'm learning as I'm going along, as I'm sharing this. But right now, from all the testing I've done, also those 4 lessons that I saw over there, this is kind of the best way to go through. So what I did is initially I just added this one, but let's say if I want to do it here. So I'll take that, I'm clicking on it, I'm going to drag it with my, when I'm clicking on it, hold that button down on the mouse and stretch it. Now you watch how that color changed over there. And now you see that I'm holding my button down. I'm going to go ahead and click on it and connect it. And it's connected. Let's keep doing that. This is also connected. If you notice, these things fly up over there, and we'll deal with that in a second. But you had to add that message first for this option to appear. And then once that option appeared, you click on it, and now you go ahead and drop that here. It's really a beautiful way for it to work. It's just a little tedious that didn't, this option for those dots to show up didn't come up front, but that's okay. We have a way to work around that. But now I got these originally 3 created, which I don't need, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And you can see that there is actually the topic checker, which is basically checking to see if you've got any errors. Even that has come up. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. But so far, it all looks pretty nice. And this what I just showed to you is actually huge. I didn't see this documented anyway. I didn't even see anyone build a blog on that. This is the first time. So if you're coming in and seeing this for the first time, I'm glad you're here, because you're also getting to learn this. Okay, so let's continue with a little bit more in the logic side. Let's not just stop over here. Let's make this a little bit more fun and exciting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask another question. I'm going to say, is there anything else you need? And I'm going to leave it at multiple choice. And I'm going to leave the default as yes. I'm going to leave this as no. And then I'm going to change the variable name. I'm going to change that to leave the back as bar or variable, and change that to anything else. Yep, that's good. So now these 2 came up over there, and this is great. So there's another big thing I'm going to show you is if it is yes, then I'm putting another question. I'm going to, not an action, I'm going to ask another question, because it's an important thing, right? If somebody who's using it has another question, I'm just going to say, hey, is this regarding the services he offer? And here's why I'm doing that, because if the person who came in, they only went ahead and checked about the training and everything is good, but they want to go and check about other services they offer. That's the question I'm going to ask first. Is that, hey, is this a new question altogether, or is this about the services? But if it is about the services, there's something else I'm going to show, which is another really important and tricky piece over here. So here, again, I'm just saying, is this regarding the services we offer? Yes. And in this yes, I'm going to actually add another services question variable. Click on it, shows up over here. Love that piece, I really do. Okay, so if it is somebody saying, somebody says, hey, I actually do have another service question, which means that's a yes. If that's a yes, then I really should not be going ahead and doing all of this, adding the whole thing again. Basically, this entire section that I did, I should not be doing this whole thing all over again. What I really want to do is I just want to go ahead and tie this directly right up over here. I would just go ahead and make it such that the question, if the person has another service question, take that loop and loop it back, start the loop over there and loop it back straight to this section over here. That's what I want to do. But the same issue happens on this side as well, because now I don't have this type of appearance. I wish I had that. What I want is I'll temporarily go ahead and say, yeah, let's just go and show another message. And when I do that, I see this option over here. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. Okay, watch what happens. I'm going to click on it and it stays that way. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the one up here. Okay, something interesting happened. Let's go back and see what happened. The discard changes. That stayed over there. So that was all good. That was all good. Is there another question? And I'm going to actually click on, this is an interesting thing, because when I went and added another question, I'm not even adding anything. I'm just leaving it at that and say, if this is a great question, add a condition, and it actually moved. Nope, it didn't move. All right. Is there another question? Let me go ahead and add that back over here because we lost a little section. Ask a question. Is there anything else you need? Say yes and no. I lost that entire thing, but that's fine. We'll rebuild it. That's the beauty of a live demo. Anything else variable. Done. I'm gonna go ahead and save that as well. That way I don't lose it. And on the yes side, I'm gonna ask another question. I'm gonna say, is this regarding the services we offer? And I would say yes, say no, and over here, remember in the variable, I'm going to change that to another services question. Done. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Now this one over here, I really want to connect this one to the one on the top right over here. This is when I want to connect it to. So what I can do is here, I'm going to tie that. I'm going to click on that. And then next is right over here. I'm going to click on that. And then automatically from here, see, this comes over here. But from there, it goes straight up. It's constantly still going. It's still going. And for some reason, it's connecting on that side. Let's try that again. I'm going to add a question. Delete that. It's a little tricky, but I'm going to intentionally do that. I'm going to do it from here. Selected that, and then I'm going to take this all the way up to right here. There you go. That's what happened. It went ahead and took care of it now. All right. So let's go back and take a look, because I know I was a little slow over there. But now, if it is another question that's been asked, and then I ask, hey, is this regarding the services we offer? When I click over there, it takes me straight up and it connects me to all of this over here. Over here, this section was the same thing that happened, because when I went ahead and said in ask another question, this piece over here was already something that was way below over here, and that just moved up. So I'm going to go ahead and now delete this. And one of the good things about processes I recommend to delete is start from the bottom, delete it, and then work your way to the top, delete it. And if everything looks good, go ahead and save it. This is a key step, all right? And as you can see, it's a little, getting used to. Nothing wrong about it. What it does is really great. It's just a little getting used to. So kind of do what I did. Went ahead and first of all, plan your logic. That's what I did over there. It's planning the logic. And then once the new step comes up, if you click on the add node, that's when this circle comes up. And you click on it first, the beginning of where the logic is going to be. Then I went ahead and scrolled all the way up, and I wanted it to the end of where the loop should be. And so I went ahead and clicked it over here, started over there, clicked it up over there, and that's how this thing was able to go up straight up over there. This was a little difficult for me to initially figure out. What I did learn from is I went through the lessons that were there. There's lesson 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth lesson actually showed me this option. So I was like, there is a way to go ahead and move this up. So if there's a way, I can figure it out. And it was just by paying close attention to these things. That, okay, if I select this, then it gets highlighted, which means now all I got to do is select somewhere else, and that's how this entire loop process works. All right, got it? Okay, cool. So let's now go ahead and now say, I'm going to finish up that if there is there anything else over here? If there's nothing else, then I'm just going to end this conversation. So I can click on here, and I'm going to add a question, and I can actually end it either way. I can end with the survey, or I can go with another topic. I can go and basically say I'm going to end with the survey. Okay, and for this one, so that was for this section over here. There's nothing else is needed. In this section, there was, if it was to do with another question, we went ahead and went up over there. But if there really wasn't to do with any other question, then what I'll do is, okay, I'll make a message. And then I'll say, okay, let me get someone to help. And then in the someone to help, I'm going to go ahead and add this option over here. And that option is call an action. And in calling an action, there is an option to escalate. And the escalate is actually the starting point of taking it from the bot to a user, a bot to a person. And the bot to a person can be different ways. You can go ahead and send an email, or there's other options where it could do a voice over IP things. Different options available over there. But that's basically how you can go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and end it right now because I don't have too many of these options. But for now, I'll just end it with escalate. This is where you escalate. All right. That's what I'm leaving it for right now. Let me just check to see. Yep, right now that shows up pretty nice. Call an action. Let me try that again. There was no option over there. That's fine. I'll just leave it at this for now, because we know that in the future, when you want to go ahead and leverage other things, this is where you can do that. What I could actually do is, okay, great, send. Or actually, I could just do it up over here. Let me end it over here. Okay. The next step is, then you can do is send an email with a detailed description to support at powerapps911.com. All right. Really great way to do that. And then over here, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Is come over here, end the conversation, and I can end it either transfer to an agent, send it straight to the agent, or I can go ahead and do, the same thing I did before, which was just end with survey. So now we've got a fully functioning chatbot over here, and the chatbot name is Chewy. So let's do some testing, right? And I guess we can also take a quick look at, this is all the work that we did. it's a pretty great amount of work, right? It had the trigger. We went ahead and got the trigger over there. We went in with added a question. So the question was, hey, everything is good. In the question side, everything is good. We went ahead and did the message. In the message, we just said hi, added a question. In the question, those are basically about the 4 services that I talked about. Nice way that the services show up over there. Looks beautiful. Went ahead and added some information about the services. For the sake of this one, it's just text information. Then I went ahead and added another question. Remember how I showed you how you can trick the system, that when you have to go ahead and click on it, first put that message in and then drag it over there. Showed you that little trick. Then we went ahead and put that in, ask another question. When it was another question, I'm just checking to see, hey, is this regarding more services? Because if it was regarding more services, if it was a yes, then I went ahead and looped it up over there. That was a little tricky part that I showed you, but it worked successfully. And then all said and done, if it is not, I just provided the email address. All right. So let's now do some testing. So do some testing. The bot's sample bot testing one is right over here. It says test your bot. So I click on it. And I'm going to say, start with hi there. Now this hi there comes from all those set of already predetermined things. So the predetermined kind of sections which are there, which takes care of the initial introduction. So in the initial introduction, it says, hey, I'm a virtual agent. I can help you with account questions, orders, store information, blah blah blah. Once you're comfortable with this and you've started testing the bot and everything, you can go into that area and even tweak it. Because what I would do for this one is I would just say, hey, I'm a virtual agent. My name is Chewy. How can I help you with? So that's what I say. So I'm going to now say, I'm just going to say services. Because remember, services are one of the triggers that I added over there. So the services, I said, did you mean services? It's like, yeah, I did. Again, the bot wasn't too sure, so it just asked you. And that's a great thing about the bot, right? Just make sure, do a little bit trust but verify, as against it saying, it's a wrong question, I don't even know what to do, I'm going to X out of this one. It doesn't do that. It is still smart enough to just check with you. And I didn't have to train that. In fact, if you know, you're watching me doing the whole thing, I didn't have to train that. It did the whole thing. So that's pretty neat. So in this case, I'm going to say, yeah, you know what, I just want to know what's your ad hoc support model. So it goes to the ad hoc support model, it goes in, it says, hey, great question. Here's the ad hoc support information. Remember all the testing that we did. Also, if you're noticing, it's showing you what everything is going on away. It's actually showing you the flow. See all the checks that are coming in? Really, really love the way this thing is all so easily built and kind of shows you each step how this is working. But let's test this a little bit more. So this was a great question. Is there anything else you need? And I'm going to say actually yes, which means it's going to come back and say, is this regarding the services we offer? Remember how we built it? That just in case if it is another servicing offer, it asks you that question. And I'm going to say yes. Yes means now that loop comes in handy. So watch, it actually jumped up over there. Really cool way. I'm going to say, yeah, actually, I want to know about the prepaid consulting. So same thing, it goes in over here and provides me the prepaid consulting information. So you could keep doing that again and again, and the loop will just work because it's a really smart system. And now I'm going to say, is there anything else you need? I'm saying, no, I'm good. It says, nope. And then it goes to the second round of things. So, hey, did that answer your questions? It says, yes, it answered the questions. And then it'll come back and say, hey, great, please rate your experience. That rating the experience piece comes over here in the end of the conversation. And I said, excellent. And then in the excellence, thank you for your feedback. Can I help you with anything else? No thanks. And then it'll come back and say, thanks for chatting with you. Bye. Now, this last piece of things about thanks for your feedback, is there anything else? Those are using all those built-in topics that I showed initially. It automatically kicks off to all of those. So these pre-built topics are really neat because we don't have to do anything about that. And since those are the most commonly one, initial and the end topics, it already is pre-built into that. So one other thing that I want to show you is that after we've built this, I want to go ahead and click on publish, because you got to publish it at least one. Is publish it over here. Click on publish, and it's going to publish your content. This piece doesn't take as long as building your bot. It just literally finished it while I was talking. But the next thing I wanted to show you is that when you go to manage, there is this channels over here. This is the Power Virtual Agents channels. Okay, click on channels, and there's this really neat thing over there, which is the demo website. So you build on the demo website, it clicks on it. I click on it, and then you can actually tweak it just a little bit to say, hey, talk to Chewy. And the comment starting is, hi there, Chewy, How can I help? Can I help? All right. So I save it. Now I've copied it, copied the link, it's on my clipboard. Now I can just come over here, and this is what you can give to your other peers, and they can go ahead and do the testing. When I do that testing, see, it comes up over here, hey, talk to Chewy, and then the Chewy is, it gives you, but this is basically it. Remember, the bot name shows up over here, Chewy, that's the bot that we built, and this is all the testing again. So hi there. So I'm just going to show a few things over there so you know that this is what I've come with. So say, have a license question. So sorry, not good. We didn't have a license question. Let's say support. I'm gonna put in support. That was a simple thing over there. So hi there, here are the top services we offer. So you kind of get it that this is the exact same bot that we built. And if I pick on something which is projects, it just goes through the same flow process we built. So I really like this demo section over here as well, because you can just provide this link to your peers over there, and it goes ahead and does the same information about testing the bot and all of that. So I know I spent a good solid 52 minutes, working on this section over here, but I did it step by step. This was an introduction. So I talked about the bot system. We went to the slide deck over here, told you about, some of the things that the bots can do. I even walked you through how to log in for the very first time to the Power Virtual Agents, the initial things that have to happen over here, the testing phase, how you go ahead and create your first bot. Remember I told you that click on the more options because you want to pick and choose your environment. Don't forget to do that. And then once it goes through, it creates the bot. The bot took a little bit time. I had to pause, come back because it took a solid 15 minutes for me. It can take the exact same time to you. Then I went ahead and showed you the different topics and over there how we created our own topics. And then we built the entire chatbot. Couple of key things that I showed you was how you can tie things over there automatically. So there were, of the 4 different topics, when the next message was there, how I was able to tie them in, and then how I was able to loop it back also. Those are the 2 big things over there. And that's how I walked you through, and we did the testing, and in the end I showed you the demo channel over here. So hopefully this was helpful. Definitely get in, start playing with it, because you don't have to be an expert. There was no coding whatsoever. This was just simple clicking. And if any of you are already familiar with Power Automate, you're going to jump in and this is going to make so much sense, so much faster. But if you're not with Power Automate, again, just jump in and play, because everything I've shown you is enough information to start playing with. So as always, keep having fun. Bye.